Hi guys, you're listening to the Cask Culture podcast with Lee Robinson, aka Whiskey with Lee. It's hard when everyone has their own lives going on. You
Mm,
know, it. And don't get me wrong. As you said earlier, is I probably talk to more people on a day-to-day basis than I actually know personally
mm.
because of the Instagram. But as you say, it's hard when you're having to make an effort to see people or talk to people, but you have your own day-to-day life going on, and so do they. It's very easy to get out of the way of it.
Oh yeah, 1,000,000%. Um, so I think there is an element of in person is great and doing things like that is brilliant, but there is still. I know you said you moved away from the tastings, but there is still an element of there could be a community around that as well. That
Yeah,
the snobbishism or whatever you want to call it, or like that can all just feck off and go somewhere. But there
yeah,
is there's um, a market, not a market. That's not the right phrase, but there's a community uh, there. I think that could be tapped into potentially. That just can't go out, feeling small bit like on jeepers. I don't know. Like, is there any sort of way it could be getting out or about, and that this could be a stew for them to do it as well. Because they do. Zoom showed me that during COVID because it helped me personally anyway. Like we just had stuff going on during COVID and things like that, but it definitely helped me during COVID. So if it helped me during COVID, I would imagine there's a lot of other people who could benefit that probably still aren't able to get out or like. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say really, but there's probably
no, no,
a yeah.
I I know what you mean exactly, and there may be people, as you say, it's just maybe not in their area, or it's too far them to travel, or it's okay getting there but not getting back. All these sort of elements that an online tasting might suit them better.
Yeah, and you still get your little bit of knowledge and you still get your interaction with the person or the brand, but you're interacting with people. That's the thing. Like there's and I know there wouldn't be people that would be doing whiskey tastings on Zoom, but like I have patients that come in out to me inside work and their only interaction for that day is talking to me or talking to the person that sees them in my shop. Like that's it for a day, an age that we're in, where it's so easy to get in touch with somebody or to have contact with people. For somebody to still feel that isolated, to me
Yeah.
is disheartening, but bizarre because there are ways and means, but unfortunately, there's still people that can't. And I would imagine that's people even our age that can't. Or are finding it hard to engage with it because of circumstance or home life, etc., or just can't get out or
Yeah.
too tired to get
Or
out even. So yeah.
yeah, or the other fact of it is sorry, I'm just getting over a chest infection.
Your
So
cancer.
the other factor is there's some people that just won't show up to something like that alone. They
Hmm.
want to have.
Yeah.
And recently, I've had a couple of people come to mind alone, but obviously, we've had messages back and forth like, "Oh, don't worry, blah blah blah." But they have took a step, but there could be a lot of people looking at the posters for events or the posts on Facebook and saying, "Oh, I'd love to go out, but I've no one to go with. I'm not gonna go by myself."
Yeah, and that's a great point. And Zoom would eradicate that firstly, something like that, a Zoom element. But um, that's a
Yeah,
good point you raised because I went to there was a whiskey tasting. I'd say one of the first in-person ones back. I'd say maybe the first, the second one, the first in-person ones that the society in Cork were going to do when they came back. And sure, I didn't know anybody really, because I'd only met them if they were handing over samples or through interacting with them on Instagram.
yeah.
So I wouldn't have known them very much. And I was late. It just so happened I read the time wrong, and I was late. Um, and I walked into where it was on. It was in a glass room to my left. The tasting had already started. Everybody was sat down, and I just went, "No, I'm not doing this. No, I'm not." I turned around and walked away. I just left. But so if it happened to me, it definitely will
Exactly
have,
here. It's
and is
the
currently happening
the
to somebody
same
else.
things.
So
The same things happen to me as I've showed up late to something, and I know as soon as I open that door, everyone's going to turn around and look, and I've just stood and went, no, I can't do this, and had to walk away.
yeah, Yeah,
You know,
like a prize on a
and
game show being revealed. Like you're like, no, I'm
yeah,
not doing this.
exactly.
Like,
And
yeah,
you know yourself from actually, if you were a person in the room, is probably no one would have had turned around. But at that time, you think every single person is going to turn and look at me, and then it just consumes you, and you have to walk away.
yeah, and that's exactly what happened to me as well that night. And I just went, no,
Exactly.
I
So
just can't do this. Yeah,
exactly. So if it's happened to us two who've been to plenty of things, like who hasn't it happened to? Do you know where they've maybe looked at, as say, looked at a poster of, because I'm posting a lot of my obviously tastings on Facebook for new people, and looked at it, went, no, I'd love to go out, but I'm not gonna go by myself.
yeah, no.
You
So
know.
there's definitely that stigma could also and should also be taken away because it kind of feeds into the uh I'll go back to the phrase of snobby, but like it goes back to that element of, oh well, I'd have to go with somebody because I feel more comfortable because I'm not just going to sit there and conceivably look like a pleb because I don't know X, Y, and Z. It doesn't matter. It really
Exactly.
doesn't matter. Do you know? Like
Yeah.
I sit in most of our tastings in society, and I'm quiet as a sheep. Like I'm just sat
Yeah.
there and I'm kind of like, great, yeah, this is great. Do you
Yeah. No, I'm the same. People like after people do tastings for me and all, they're oh well, was that all right? I'm like, yeah, it was great. But I'm sitting there because I'm sitting there and I'm not saying anything or I'm not really interacting. They're like, is this all right? I'm like, yes, of course it is. But you know more than me.
know?
You're working for this brand. You know your stuff. I'm just sitting here consuming what you're saying.
Exactly. I'm not going to be the person that goes,
And
actually, sorry about that there. No, I actually think you're wrong, or I get like
exactly.
appley plums are and like, no, you don't. Like it doesn't matter. It
But
really does
then
not matter.
that's and at each and I make sure to say this at each of my wee creative events that I do my wee tastings at and stuff, is I make sure to say this straight away, is by the way, I don't really like to give tasting notes because it's subjective, but I will tell you what I taste and see if you don't taste that or smell that. That's okay because it's all subjective to each of our tastes. And then people go, "Oh, okay, that's fine, that's fine." It's like, see if you tell me that you taste, I don't know, fucking boot leather, and I'm tasting peaches. That's okay. You
Yeah.
may be, you may have something wrong with your tongue, but
Yeah,
that is
might have
okay.
COVID or something, but that's okay.
I That's okay. But you know what I mean? And I think that's a big perception for people is that you have to, like, I think if I was to sit here and think of a whiskey tasting, like maybe someone who hasn't been to a whiskey tasting, you just imagine it's a load of people in a room sitting down, tasting whiskey, one person talking. It's not the crack and the cheer and the back and forth banter that we all have at tastings.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. Like the best tasting that we've had in person anyway since we've come back from Gov, there's two. One was just because it was exceptional. It was the construction of Airbus 27, but it was location, it was everything surrounding that. But the liquid was good too. But the probably the best one was a couple of months ago. We had Morris O'Connell from Liberator come up and did a few releases, and then there was a couple of samples, and we have a cask, we have a Lakeview cask as well with the society. Had a sample of that, but Morris's wife Francesca was also there, and she was kind of just standing at the bar. But it was the stories Morris had because he's Daniel O'Connell, the Liberator's great grandnephew. Oh, I
Yeah,
hope I'm not wrong there. No, I think it's great grandnephew. But it was the stories he had from that. But then his wife was 10 feet away from him and started flinging abuse at him as well at one point during it, and it was all this crack and all the insults and everything that was flying around. It was brilliant because everybody was
yeah,
having the crack, and it was no wanky tasting notes. It was all just like, yeah, this is brilliant, and the juice is good, and that was it. That was the litmus paper, and it went off. You know.
exactly. And like we we've had a few the same where it's just been, yes, the whiskey's been great, but it's been the crack surrounding it. Everyone's having jokes, and like we had Corey in from Copeland the other night, And yes, it started off as all do, sort of a bit quiet, but then one of the guys didn't know that why port was called port, where it was from. So then that was the joke the rest of the night. And we were all getting involved. So do you know what I mean? And we were all just having the crack then.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah, and that's what it is. That's what it should be. Like,
exactly,
I don't know. It
it's
sounds like, and it shouldn't be a comedy gig either. Let's be fair, but it's the
yeah,
crack and the interaction between everybody is what drives it. Like,
exactly. Oh no, exactly. It's different when there's a few people just going on and on, and you're trying to get through a tasting. But when you're all having a bit of crack and enjoying it, that's great. It's not just all sitting around the table quiet, one person talking, and you can't say anything because he's talking. No, that's not it at all. And I can understand why people maybe think that,
mm,
but that's why, as say about these events, is like whiskey's for everyone. And if I can convince just maybe one person that, okay, well, you didn't mind that we tasting I had with you while you're doing something, would you not come across to
mm.
the next event and see how you get on? Or why only sort of like I only really sort of like a Jameson ginger. But you didn't mind that, say 2 stacks tonight. Ah, well, yeah, that wasn't bad, but why don't you come across and you see what else you actually don't mind?
Yeah, no, you're right. Whiskey is for everybody, and it's for the people say, "Oh, I couldn't drink that, or I can't drink that." You just haven't found one that's right. Sure, you could have been given something bizarre or something mad,
Exactly.
or like a Neat Jameson, and of course, Neat Jameson isn't going to be the. I'm not just Jameson, not pigeon that, but any Black Bush or Red Bush or even Bushman's 10 for some people mightn't even necessarily be that. Oh, oh, we good. Sorry, just lost there for a second. I don't know what happened
No
there.
problem.
But like, do you know, like these, there is a, uh, there's a whiskey for everybody. You just haven't found one that is the whiskey for you
Exactly.
yet. That's all. So by going to these tastings, you might find something, or if not, you might find some pottery thing that you want to do, and off you go down that route, and there you go, and you
Yeah,
have an outlet.
exactly. Because as you say, that's exactly it. There's a whiskey for everyone, and it's actually just popping into my head from what you were saying earlier about when you were at uni and drinking like Jameson ginger. Well,
Mm.
it's actually excuse me. It's actually probably so surreal that I think I didn't have a Jameson ginger until I was maybe about 4 or 5 years into whiskey
Yeah,
because
and do you know what? It's just something that was advertised. That's all it is. Like
yeah,
Jameson ginger and a lime wedge or a dash of lime.
yeah.
Something that was advertised. So you just kind of go. But yes, it wouldn't be the kind of gateway.
I know it was, and just because it just popped into my head there, and I was like, I started drinking with Sprite, and then I remember you saying about Jameson ginger, and yes, I do like the odd one now, but I think the first time I had one was down in Bow Street. You know how you get one with your ticket, and I think
Mm.
that was the first time I had one because everyone was saying, "Oh, do you want a Jameson ginger?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't like it. Never tried it." I knew I didn't think I liked gin. You know, I didn't think I liked ginger ale, so I was like, "Oh no," I didn't. And then when we were down, obviously we were down having a few drinks and stuff there today, and then you got one with your ticket. I was like, "Oh, I'll give it a go." And as soon as I had one, I was like, "Fuck any more of those going."
No, it's unreal. It isn't unreal. They know what they're doing when they're advertising it, to be fair. I'm actually just going to pour something else. Actually, sorry, because my glass is empty. Just seeing as you were talking about Ushy, no, I know it's a bit of a different at the moment, but one of my whiskies of the year last year was the Moscatel Clonakilty release, Moscatel Cast one.
Never tried it.
I thought it was a phenomenal one. So if you can get your hands on that, that's really well worth it.
I'll keep my eyes
So
for
it's
it.
good. Do
I
well
love
worth it.
I love the pasta. I might actually run in and grab that now because as I was saying to him on what day did we film Monday? On Monday is I have about half a bottle, maybe just less, of the batch one of the pasta left. And then the next bottle I have is batch three, which I got it off Paddy when he was
Mm,
up doing a tasting for me.
yeah.
Because I had Clonakilty up in February there, and that was their first ever tasting in the north.
Was it? Okay. Jeekers, do they have distribution in the north?
I think they just sort of got on it.
Good for
Same
them.
with Boan. I had Boan up in November,
Mm.
and I think just before, I think it was about October, they had secured distribution, but it was their first tasting in the north.
Go away. That's mad, isn't it? That there's still brands from the south that haven't been one able
Exactly.
to come up or do tastings, or two have the distribution up there. Because I know, so my friends, I actually have one here. So the people I released about with Lockree, there's a lot of people in the north aren't familiar with
I
Lockree or
know
what they
because
do.
is Dar, isn't it?
Dara, yeah.
Yeah, I was supposed to have a tasting with him last year, and because they
Mm,
didn't have a distribution in the north, he couldn't come up.
yeah, yeah.
'Cause I,
But
I
it's
still I still keep my eyes out for stuff with him.
Yeah, no, I do because so the bottle that I released last year, the College, it's one up there. The like that's Lockery, but like they're Mike and Peter, and what they're doing there, like Mike, I think for me is one of the best finishers of whiskey in the country. And there is plans to have a bigger distillery. They do have a still in the distillery site that they have at the moment, and they do whiskey runs on it. It takes them very long, but they do. But they're just releasing sourced releases currently. But some of the bottlings that Lockree have done are
Yeah,
probably the best around.
but
Like,
I was talking to Dar last year at Whiskey Live, so I might get
mm,
on them. I might get on them next week and see them about coming up because I am trying to bring a couple more. Let's
but
say I've had like in 6 months I had two firsts for brands
mm,
for myself, so I would like to continue on that and bring
mm,
a couple more
yeah,
because
definitely. But
don't get me
definitely
wrong, if
Lockree are definitely people to be championed anyway. I have to say
yeah,
because some of their releases are fantastic.
well my thing is also don't get me wrong, we have fantastic whiskey in the north, but there's so much out there, so many great brands that we should be supporting, and so many brands that people don't get the opportunity to try. That's one of the reasons I started the whiskey events because I'm trying to bring these to the forefront of people because the many people who come to my tasting and have you had Copeland, like Copeland's fucking 50 miles down the road. It's not far, like maybe not even 50 miles. And like with people that was my second Copeland tasting. People there like they never tried it. What do you mean they've never tried it? Like
It's your local distillery, like.
like it's a stone throw away. Had Hinch the other year, and it was like, have I just had Hinch whiskey? And it's like, no, it's 15 miles that way. What's going on here?
Yeah, and that you've hit a good point there, and something that I wanted to bring up is that and kind of go back to the championing of people, but it, these companies, whether it be Copeland, whether it be Hinch, I've been to both. Actually, I was in both when I was up in Harborview in October, but like Ecklenville, locally to you, like
Yeah,
not hyper, but locally to you, or even a Harborview, for instance, or anywhere like that, they create employment locally. So if you don't support them or if you
exactly.
don't want to support them, that's fine. But if you're into whiskey and you don't support them, then there is a possibility that they will go, and that could affect indirectly somebody that you know or that you work with or a distributor or somebody that drives a van. It doesn't matter who it is. These are
Exactly.
local jobs, so they need to be championed for that reason.
And especially as just from say Copeland point of view or Hinch's point of view, and I understand the Harbour view, but sorry, it's not just the people in the distillery; it's the farmers that they get the grain off. That they are sourcing local products and ingredients. It's your man down the road that prints the labels. It's the graphic designer that does the work for them. It's everyone involved because more than likely they are local people. So if you can't support the brand, well, you will hurt the local economy of it.
Oh yeah, and look, don't get me wrong, and I said before, like there's a whole wall dedicated to a certain distillery in the south here behind me, but like they're
Oh, which
local
one
jobs
would
as
that be?
well. Yeah, I don't know, somewhere in East Cork. But like they obviously like, but they create a lot of jobs. As long as I know them,
Exactly.
all the grain is Irish, but all of the other sundry bits that come with it are Irish. Like
Yeah.
it's 95% of what they do is based in Ireland, and the jobs they
Yeah,
bring
of
to,
course.
and they do serve another purpose, and that purpose is other brands probably fly a bit higher because of what they've done or how they've
Yeah.
strove to be where they are. So like everybody in this process is a different cog, and some are bigger cogs, some are smaller cogs, but all these cogs turn together to create emotion, you know.
Exactly. But
So
even as you say about the bigger distillery there, or the biggest distillery, is yes, but international revenue lets them support local people at home. So you know they can't have a distillery as big with local people if they do that. Sorry, excuse me. If the international revenue isn't there to bring that in and to bring that scope of work in.
oh yeah, 100%. And look, it has to be said as well that Bushmills as well for another one, and Middleton. These people were laying down stock. Like I'm looking to have a 26-year-old crystal malt as well from Bushmills behind me, but like
Oh fuck! Look
that
at the
shouldn't
sun.
that shouldn't be a thing. But we shared it as a battle here. But my point
Yeah,
behind that in particular is that shouldn't exist really, nor should like Rebus 27 as a core range bottling
exactly,
shouldn't exist really if we were to look at the dynamic of what things were like 35 years ago when all these things are being conceived or thought about.
exactly.
That shouldn't be a thing. Like who would have thought that in how long is Rebus 27 out? So when did I get married? 2021. So you're looking at 2020 was the first batch maybe of Rebus 27s. I can't remember exactly, maybe 2019. I can't remember exactly
But
when it was launched. But
apparently, what I was told from I don't know if you know Joe McGowan.
I
Um,
don't know Joe because he primarily dealt with the North as a
yes.
brand ambassador for the North.
Um, so I think he estimated that for a bottle of Redbreast 27, it roughly takes about 40 years.
Oh, easily, because there's that deconstruction actually that night that we did. There was a 30-odd-year-old component in that as
Yeah,
well.
because
So
27 is the youngest liquid in that.
yes, exactly. Yeah. But there's I can send you on the breakdown when I go back in my notes. But there was the youngest was 27, but there was definitely it was
It's
a 34
33-year
36 year old.
element.
Yeah, there was
Yeah,
definitely something in it that was like really really
exactly.
older than
So
that. So like yeah, so think of that. So he's right. Joe was like 40 years ago. So in let's say if it was to 2019, you're looking like 40 years back from that. So it was
1986.
1979 or 1980, you know, whenever it was when they wanted to
Yeah,
start conceivably putting their plans in place for the next 50 years. Like that's
yeah,
what they do down in Middleton. Somebody went, right, we're going to lay down enough liquid. And some of it, like, not necessarily that one, but other trad pot distillates, we're going to lay down some of all of the different types of hostel that we have. We're going to leave them just sit there in a part of the warehouse, and let's just hope something sticks. And they have to be
yeah,
commended for that. And in fact, that was my thing about Crystal Mall. They did these mad experiments in the 90s in Middleton or in Bushmills, and just left them sit there. And now they
yeah.
have their bottlings, and they have to be commended for that because we wouldn't have these things unless
Exactly.
those
They had to
brands
have the
were there.
foresight for it.
Yeah, yeah. And who would
As
have
you
thought
say,
that, you know?
well, as you say, there's just as your example, the crystal malt. Well, crystal malt is known to be so difficult to work with, and so much of a small yield off it, but they still went ahead to because they still went ahead to lay down that much liquid that that is in the permanent collection now.
Exactly. So having that amount of maybe naivety to one point, but foresight and hope is probably the best phrase. Actually, not any hope
Yeah.
in that these things would just stick or be things going forward, and that there would be a market for them. Like malt or even crystal malt to a point would probably always find a home worldwide. But for Milton to put aged bottle together in certain combinations, or to have them have the packets of the barrels or casks lying around, then that's something to be really, really, I suppose, grateful for as well. Because without things like
Yeah.
that, you wouldn't have other brands there, because they're leaning into what the taste profiles are coming off of Redbreast 27. Like, there is reasons why 27, 21, even the 15 lost out, they all win awards. The reason why they win awards is because they're, I hate using this phrase of quintessential, but like 12 is the quintessential whiskey along with John's Lane,
Yeah.
wise. So not you're trying to replicate it, but they're trying to better it. But that's
Yeah.
great. Leave people try and better it. That's what we want is improvement on these things, you know. So if you can
Exactly.
make a small batch of something that's better, we often do it. And without our friends in Middleton or without our friends in Bushmills creating superb mod for the last 40 years when nobody else was doing it,
Exactly.
then
But
everybody else wouldn't be able to fly.
exactly, and there's another point. Like I know from Bushmills because recently, or last year, I got a bottle from Hinch, and it was out of their warehouse collection, and it was 22-year-old Madeira. I think it was Madeira single malt. I actually do have it in there. I might actually go get it. But it was Bushmills liquid. But if they didn't lay down enough liquid that many years ago that they can say, okay, you know what? I don't think we're going. Although obviously the warehouse collection is single cast stuff, I don't think we're going to do anything that we're sending it on. You're sending on 22-year-old liquid that you had the foresight to put down to turn around and also say, okay, well, maybe it's not for us right now. We'll move it on.
Mm,
So these other brands can take advantage of it, can have that the stamp on theirs to say, hey, this is our stuff. It's
yeah.
it's unbelievable that they could lay down liquid that far ahead with amazing cash finish and then say, you know what, we're not going to release this, but here we'll sell it on these.
Yeah, and look, I think that the I don't think necessarily aren't bonders as such, but they do a lot of like their warehouse release and things like that. But I think Ireland needs to borrow a bit from the Scotch landscape of a lot of independent bottlers and a lot of independent
Yes.
bonders in
Yeah.
Scotland. I think we do have a lot currently, a lot of liquid floating around, but there probably is scope to have more bonders in Ireland, especially in the next maybe 5 years when a lot of liquid's going to come online that there may not be necessarily a home for. That's why I quite like the Pillars of Creation from Two Stacks and what they do with that. And
Oh,
a couple of other
unbelievable
I
stuff.
know Cork and Greer do a kind of blend as well, don't they? Have a lot of different.
Yeah, they've
Uh,
started their 4 seasons.
yes, Four Seasons. Sorry, yeah, that's
I
it.
got the,
Um,
what one did I get? It wasn't the winter. I think it might have been the autumn, and I think it
mm,
was the shed. It was Hinch, and I think it might have been GND.
mm.
It was decent stuff, but I think, as you
But
say,
it isn't that brilliant? Do you know that there's just distilleries and like the sum of all parts sometimes is greater than the individual components. So yeah, maybe something that isn't quite right on its own, but blended in with something else, and then
yeah,
maybe a dash of something else, and there you go. And that's just something. No, no, I suppose independent bottlers in Scotland are a bit different because they kind of play around or single cast bottlings, etc. But who's to say that that isn't? But like I think bonding and blending is probably an untapped thing in Ireland still. Given the dynamic of the next couple of years, and think there's probably scope for less distillery based operations, maybe, and more
yeah.
bonding and
But
blending operations.
there's some of the most elite guys doing it. Do you
Mhm.
know? I don't, and I'm a huge fan of Shane and Liam and what everything they do, and I don't think I've had anything bad from them.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything
There's
that I've went, you know what, I wouldn't get that again. Everything has been on fire, and sorry, excuse me, uh, excuse me, um, and like my number one bottle of last year was the Polaris 4.1.
mm,
It was it was part of it was a 5 year old pasta, full maturation, and all of us was hogshead from Boan, but it was part of Finon's um,
mm.
PhD study. So it was I think it was a vintage mash bill from like I'm gonna say like 1891 that they brought back and used, but it was outstanding stuff. Now I actually have that bottle up under a bed because I think there was about that much left, and I cannot find another bottle, so I've tucked it away to stop temptation.
Yeah, there is one or two bottles, right, that like there's drains of left here that I just don't want to part with. Um, there's a couple of clones that I don't want to part with. There's a couple of as one two staff actually in particular. That I don't. It's not there. No, I can't. It's in behind on that counter. But the original apple brandy cast
Yeah,
not the fruit drops one. It was actually the original one,
the original
the
one.
very first one. Yeah, that was seriously good. Like 63% or something like that. I can't remember what the ABV it was, but it just blew my head off. But it was sensational stuff.
Unbelievable. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
see
yeah, yeah, really good.
that Polaris 4.1. I'm gonna say off the top of my head, I think it was like either 57.9 or 59.4 or something like this here. Absolutely lethal stuff,
Mm.
but it's just outstanding. And the first night I opened it, I think I drank probably a quarter of it just sitting there. And a friend of mine was sitting with me, and he was like, "No, I could have one of those." I'm like, "Fuck one! I think I could have one bottle." Like, unbelievable. So I did go for the Hinch warehouse. Now, this is what I have been trying not to touch, so I haven't had it. I'm gonna say I haven't had it in about a year, so I'm gonna.
I'm almost certain that Terry brought that to Cork Whiskey Fest this year. Because it stands out as being elite in my head as well. Was that only like £120 sterling or something for a 22-year-old Bushmills? Was I right? Am I right around that price point?
That might be
Or
that
is that a
might
new one?
be that was a new one because this one brought out last year. This one brought out was it brought out last year? Maybe brought out the year before actually. It was £90.
Oh wow, like that's unbelievable. Like
Ninety
that's insane.
pound. So Madeira Cask, it was filled 30th of 10th, 20, 2002. It was bottled 13th of December 2024, 52.5%.
Unbelievable.
And like look at the cover. Unreal.
You kind of actually you've sent me down a bit of a two-stack rabbit hole there now because when you went away, I was kind of looking on my cabinet here to see what I could finish off, and there's actually something that I have been holding on to for a while, um, but I still have probably a second drain of it left, so I'll pivot out of what I was going to do, and I'll go on to this one. So it's the Cab Frank ice wine finish for Thomas Connolly single grain in Sligo. I think this kind of went under people's radar. This was about 18 months ago, 2 years ago. This came out. No, geez, November 2023. Is it that long ago? Oh my god. But Cooley Zingra and Cab Frank ice wine finish. This is really really good. This is really really good stuff. So I'll actually have a small sip off that because I haven't had this in a while. So, great. Yeah,
I must,
lovely. I just
I
love it,
must
Portugal. Yeah,
send you
what
down.
more?
I must send you down a sample of this. It's unbelievable stuff.
Do you know what? I can trade you a Hinch sample then because we did a bottling with Hinch for the society. I wasn't involved in the committee at the time, but it was this.
Shiraz?
I'll just get it. Yeah, 1 second. I have it. I actually have it here. It was. This was. I don't know if you listened to the Saturday Night Whiskey Live guys, but they nearly
Yeah.
they nearly broke the speed limit to go down to Hinch to buy the Shiraz cast Hinch that came out about 7 or 8 months ago. The Cork
Yeah,
Society
I got
actually did
one.
a Shiraz Hinch. Yeah, yeah. This is an earlier iteration of
Yeah.
that because this is actually it. And this was bottled, oh God, early last year. I think it was May, I think, or May or April for the Society in Cork.
Yeah,
Um,
because I got my first sample of it at Whiskey Live last year.
that'd be right. Yeah, because the timeline would match up there. So we actually had a bottle of it as well. It's great. But the lads are fascinated by it. They were like, just I couldn't believe their fascination with with the Shiraz one.
Unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, this single grain is very good. To be fair, the guys in two stacks, I think sometimes people might think that the ABV is a small bit too high on what the what Liam and what Shane bring out. But when you're dealing with stuff like single grain in particular, then it can take that higher ABV. And if you want to add a drop of water, add a drop of water to take down the ABV. But like some of them are unbelievable. Like that Thomas Connolly single grain, the single grain for I don't know if you ever had the one for the Pear Brandy single grain cask from Carrion and Killarney, 2 stacks.
No, I haven't.
That's elite. That is an elite bottling as well. And actually, the one from Whiskey Live a couple of years ago, the aged mezcal one, and the wine finish, that was really, really good. Very unusual
Yeah.
and really, really good.
I see how I've drank so much of this. Unbelievable. But yeah,
Fair play to Hinch as
I've been
well, and
actually,
it must be said that like fair play to Hinch for releasing stuff as close to what would conceivably be considered a cheap bottle as well. Like that's even for what Terry brought that time. I can't remember. I was definitely 100 and something pounds for whatever
yeah,
bushels he
there
brought this
was
time. Like
another,
that's great value.
I think it might have been, was there a port cask? And it was
Could
maybe
be.
£120. I can't remember exactly, but I know this was, I thought this was last year, but it must have been 2024 because I was straight down to get it because I actually went down to get, they had done a port pipe one, and I think it was about 40 quid or 50 quid, whatever it was. And I went down, I was like, oh, I'll get the port pipe, and I seen this, and then when they said to me, oh, where the liquid's from, I was like, okay, so that's what I'm getting.
Yeah, fill up the boot of the car.
No. Yeah, just saying, like, about 2 stacks. Yeah, Liam planted the seed in my head about, I don't know, last year there, about maybe doing a small run of cans for me for like the whiskey club.
Mm.
And I've texted him, I'm like, oh, come on, let's have a conversation, let's have a conversation. I'm like, come on, let's do this. I'm like,
Good, no, that's great. And
whiskey,
that
whiskey with my name on it, unreal.
all stop like and like that I've been lucky that's happened. No, then hasn't directly gone in the bottle, but like we brought out a Lockery last year and it was just something that I've never kind of not made a thing, but I've never chased things in whiskey, if that makes sense. They've always kind of come to me. And I've other stuff going on. Look, and this is a great pastime and a great gig, and I like doing it. But um, I'm happy for stuff to fall on my lap a lot of the time. Um, and this just through organically knowing people and organically getting to know people a bit better and having conversations that fell into my lap as well. But there is a kick to having, or even the glasses, like the branded glasses alone. Like, I'm something And like, oh, that's me. Like that is
Yeah.
me. You know, on that. It's neat. I'm not big into leaving a legacy or whatever, like, because that can be a bit misconstrued as wanting to be, I don't know, but it's neat, if that makes sense. It's a nice
Yeah.
feeling to have that.
Yeah, exactly. So remember I'd sent you a couple of questions. So we'll go on to what's one thing that you want gone from whiskey? Whiskey
I think
community, whiskey.
and I think we've actually already touched on it, and I think it's that uh, snobbery or elitism that kind of comes with it.
I know I was going to say the same, and then we talked over it.
Yeah, we organically started talking about it, but I think it's just something that um is to the detriment of it. I wouldn't even say in the community, even some of there's an element of, not going to say snobbery amongst brands, but uh a couple of brands, a couple gone since, or have come back in different iterations as well. Just how they interacted with people that were very enthusiastic about their brand or the distillery from the get go, and to be kind of not stonewall, but it was almost like a snobbery of, well, we don't need you. Our product is good enough, or we'll sell it ourselves. It's fine. Like
Yeah,
again, I don't look for stuff for free. I don't ask for stuff for free. But uh, it's the recognition of, if you reach out to them with a question, you get an answer. Sometimes you don't get answers from these people, and that's what kind of
yeah,
bugs me, because it's a snobbery or kind of, I don't know, we're fine ourselves. Or you go to an event and the brand person just leaves a bad taste, or these things. They're things that like to see eliminated. We're all like Whiskey Shot Larry's phrase. I kind of use it a lot, but it's a good one. It's like, rising tide floats all boats. What we do, or us talking like this, serves a purpose for a lot of brands, or just indirectly as well. We've touched on loads of them tonight, and loads more that we would just indirectly through our own conversations in private. Um, but that, the rising tide floats all boats. So if you answer a question, they'll go, "Oh, great, thanks." If you don't answer a question, though, that leaves a sour taste with me. And I might, the next time I
exactly.
go to look for your brand or to do something, I might just go, "No, I'm going to steer away from that, and I'm going to steer in this direction instead." Um,
Yeah,
so I think kind of the elitism or snobbery that does come up, and kind of an element of when I was thinking about this question, something that I noticed at the Cork Whisky Fest and at our own tastings with societies, that um there's still, it's very male dominated that go to these tastings. I don't know how you find your ones, but I probably imagine it's the same. But like at the festivals and stuff, it's not so much. I mean, there is a
no,
mix. So how do we translate that? Do you know, that's another thing. Is not to get rid of it, but how do we transfer that into coming into the societies or into tastings? Because
exactly.
like, my wife has a great nose and palate, and I ask her for tasting notes. And I know some of the best people in our industry are women as well and driving it on. So why isn't there more of a movement towards that? I can't understand why there isn't, because they're as welcome in any community.
Exactly.
Do you know what,
There
they
is
should be, and I don't know why. So
there is there is a women's only whiskey club in Belfast. It's
mm,
called the Angel Share. So
mm,
it's don't get me wrong. I've said to my wife before about it. My wife has no interest in whiskey, so
mm,
it wouldn't be something she's going to take up. But as you say, most there is have been a few women. There's one or two regular women that come to my tastings, but that was also a reason for the other events, is
mm,
to try and open that door,
mm,
because they may, oh, okay, I wouldn't mind doing a bit of pottery, which on the nights it has been maybe a 50-50 split, maybe 60-40 in the women side, and stuff. But I'm hoping with these new events I can bring more women into whiskey, because it's exclusive to everyone. Everyone deserves to have their place, and if we can bring more women into it, that's absolutely great, and that should be the case for most sorry, excuse me, most tastings and clubs and events. But as you say, on the back of it, like I'm near sure Paul Kane, who runs Belfast Whisky Week, I'm near sure he said something last year. The demographic for the year before of Belfast Whisky Week was something like 60% or 62% were under 40, and of that demographic, over 50% of those were women who were coming to the events. That's absolutely amazing. But how do we get that on a regular scale?
Exactly.
Not
Why doesn't it translate over? That's what I'm interested in. Like,
exactly.
is it because, and is it kind of feeds into the point of, is it because of that elitism mentality, or that it is? You mentioned it actually earlier. Is it this perception that it's a load of men sat around that are in their 40s or 50s drinking whiskey, and everybody silent apart from one person, almost sermoning them from a mount? Maybe it is that element that they think.
And I think also I think I'm not going to tarnish everyone with the same brush, but I think it's people's attitude when they see women come into tastings and events. They sort of go, look at it like that shouldn't be the way, because whiskey's for everyone. I'm sure there's many more grannies out there drinking whiskey than what there was.
Very
Do you know
true.
what I mean?
Yeah, very,
So
very true. Yeah.
it hasn't. It goes way back that it hasn't always just been men drinking whiskey. It's not a newfangled thing that women are drinking whiskey. This has went on years, but I think in a popular way, it has become more for women, more women coming into it, and that is great, because, as you say, the tide rises all boats. That's exactly it, and I think it needs to be more inclusive, especially in the clubs and stuff, because, as say, mentioned Belfast Whisky Weekend is, loads of women are turning out, because there's food pairings, there's music events, there's got to be comedy stuff, there's cocktail takeovers. But how do we get that on a regular basis, and not just for a week or 10 days of the year?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. So maybe it's a perception thing. I don't know, but it's definitely a thing that was probably the snobbery or elitism of it, and then moving past that is, how does that reflect on how we can move forward a bit more to get more people involved, is probably the thing you'd like to see gone and then improve upon, if that makes sense. So.
Yeah, of course. Okay. One whiskey everyone should try.
This is a very hard question, because you're going to get a lot of people that will come on and say, "Oh, Powers on Glen," because that's my go-to as well if somebody asks me. And if you ask somebody else and they tell you that answer, like, "Ah, yeah, that fella or that girl knows what they're talking about," yeah, yeah. But like, or Rebel 12, yeah, great, yeah, they know what they're talking about. They know what they're talking about. But I think we said earlier, is whiskey for everybody, but the proof is in the pudding for me when somebody can release a kind of entry level blend that is tasty and value for money. And I think that's probably what I would suggest, is that you find one for you. But like Jameson's great, Black Barrel in particular, especially when you get it at Christmas time when it's reduced in supermarkets. But I will say that, to something that I've touched on, that I would champion smaller brands or other brands, like just two blends that, if you're willing to pay that extra €10 for, are just superb. And I think I find it very hard to choose between those two. And that's W.J. O'Connor's Union Road that came out a few months back. Just very well put together, extremely good value for money as well. Dahi at the time likened it to an old school Crested 10, and he's not too far wrong. The grain element is a bit higher, but it is really, really good, and it's really good value for money.
Yeah.
And then the other one, because it's so well put together, and it is from Lockree, is Bart's Blend, the original Bart's Blend. So I think for me, because we were talking about earlier as well, these entry level, these barriers to whiskey, there should be none. But I think if people were to drink these or use them as their base for a cocktail, they'd go, oh, there is more to whiskey than your Jamesons or your Bushmills. And when you move past that, that's what opens the gate then, because I remember that one of the first other bottles I bought was that Liberator bottle, the Tawny Port, the first batch of Tawny Port. And it just blew my mind because I was like, okay, there's really, really, really loads more stuff outside of East Cork or Bushmills, or
Exactly.
it just really blew my mind, and it opened these doors. So by buying a bottle from one of those brands, you're not just kind of opening a door into a flavor profile because it's so well put together, and you're actually opening the door into going, oh, well, that brand, I see that on the shelf because it has like a Bill Fill, or it has something else, W. O'Connell or the Bridge series from Loughree, and go, I might spend that extra 30 or 40 euros on that bottle, because to be fair, what they did with that Bart's Blend or even the Road was really, really good.
Yeah.
So that for me, I think personally, is what I would jump at, would be a blend, but probably those two blends, because it's whiskey for all, if that makes sense, or whiskey for everybody. It is probably the best thing. Like, don't get me wrong, I love John's Lane, I love Redbreast 12, I love Redbreast 15, but they're great. But if you want something that is a everyday crowd pleaser, I don't think you're going to go too far wrong from a blend by those two, for the simple fact that value for money, and they're tasty and they're so well put together. I think there's no other option really for me.
Fair enough. I don't think I've tried either of them.
Have you not? Okay, I'll sort that out for you. Actually, Dahi both will be at Whiskey Live. So Dara will certainly have a bottle of Bart's Blend, and Dahi will definitely have a bottle of Union Road.
I've been on the Dahi about coming up here
Good.
for a taste for me. And and I'm doing a masterclass on the Saturday. So,
brilliant. You tell Dahi now that I sent you. And
I will.
He
I
should
will.
give you the good stuff.
Okay. I know that this was going to be hard for you.
Yeah.
One dream dram, one whiskey on the bucket list.
So I did agonize over this, because I like you have been lucky that stuff has been poured to me, or I've been privy to events whereby it's been like, wow, this is just exceptional stuff, and really rare things. But there is one thing, as I was thinking, I was like, I was struggling to think of something, and there was something that has eluded me for a while, and it's a bit of a cult following bottling, because it was done in 2016 to commemorate the 1916 Rising in the South, but it was for the Irish Whisky Society, and it was their Marrowbone Lane bottling. I don't know if you've ever heard of this or come across this. So they commissioned the bottle to be bottled for the centenary of the Easter Rising, but they had a very, very specific brief of what they wanted, and they wanted a bottle that would have reflected the style of distillate in 1916 in 2016. So they got Finan involved, and they tasked Middleton with finding a trad pot, basically, so the heavier type of Middleton distillate, and something that would reflect the bottling that might have existed in 1916. They came back with a couple of samples, and then they settled on this bottling that they did. There's about, I think, 300 bottles at the time, but they're all snapped up. Very hard to get now at auction. They're like over €1,000 because they were all opened. Most people opened them and drank them. But so was refill bourbons. So Billy Lighton was involved as well in selecting the casks for them. Refill bourbons. But then there was a 7 or 8 year finish. I can't remember exactly what it was, in Oloroso sherry. So that would have been more in line with 1916 bottlings. The bourbon wouldn't have, because that would have come a bit later, but it was a refill, so it didn't matter. It was the distillate heavy, it was distillate forward. But the sherry certainly would have. And apparently it's perhaps the best bottling of Irish whiskey ever done. So a sample of that has eluded me until now. I do know somebody in our society doesn't have a bottle. They don't know what to do with. If that person were to open it for maybe a committee members event, that'd be great. But for now, I haven't had a sample. That's my bucket list battling. All right.
Okay,
So
fair enough.
do you have a bucket list out of curiosity, bucket list dram that you want to
I have quite a few.
try?
I have quite a few. I'm going to tell you the next one
Mm,
because hopefully I'm building to getting that. So it is Bushmills 30. Bushmills 30 year old. I have tried plenty of great stuff. I am a big Bushmills fan.
mm.
So I have like recently at my 2 year event, Mark came and he brought the 26 crystal malt, the 25-year old. Next up is the 30. Now I had tried them before anyways, but next up is the 30. And then I did have a wee look at the Whiskey Live
Mm.
Dream Dram Bar, and I think they have a Bushmills 31 on it.
Is there? I didn't actually see that. No, I briefly looked through the list earlier today. Is there a
I
Bushmills
would
31
have
on it?
to
Is
I
there?
would have to double check, but I think there might be a Bushmills 31, so I might have to get a sample of it. But I'm still pushing for the 30, and then it will go up to the later releases. They've the top end is going to be the 44, which is Secrets of the
30.
River Bush, which I don't think I'm ever going to get, but I'm pushing there. So that
Good.
would be top end. But yes, there's quite a few on my list. I think I've tried quite a few different exclusive things that I'm very lucky to try. But I do
Mm.
have a wee list on my phone of stuff that I'm like, okay, I'm edging towards trying to get. But then the thing is, as soon as you get them, you add something else on.
Oh, something more expensive and more elusive goes onto that list. So I'm
Yeah,
fully aware of
exactly.
that.
Sometimes, sometimes like trying to catch smoke. It's
Yeah. Ah, yeah.
it's
Um,
unbelievable. But in the same, aiming for things at 30 years old and up is a privilege to have because I've tasted everything below it.
yeah, and look, don't get me wrong. Like, it is a very privileged position to be in, to be like, oh, yeah, I've had that, and we can have a discussion about having the crystal malt or even having it on your shelf or whatnot. But like, it is a privileged position. I'm aware of the fact that it's just we are, uh, we do, but it is a niche thing to have. We go back to the word niche, but it is great that we can have conversation with you because these things are designed to be opened. They're not designed to just sit in people's shelves. Um, they
But
they look great, yeah,
this
great,
is
but they're
it.
designed to be drunk. So I would hate to be the person that 40 years ago to I suppose come full circle on our conversation as we come through closing it, but like I would hate to be the person 40 years ago that was sat in the office in it was probably Normal at the time, maybe, or in the Bushman's office that went, that's great, yeah, but I hope I'm putting a product in that people will drink, and then for like 40 years later, just sat on a shelf, just sitting there looking
Yeah,
at somebody.
exactly.
I that would disappoint that person. I would suspect because if it was me,
Yeah,
it would disappoint me. So it's great that they're open and that we can have the conversations about them.
exactly. Whiskey's to be enjoyed, and also it would be terrible to say get something like say the 26 crystal malt or the red brush 27, and you keep it and you keep it and you keep it, and then you get old and you open it and go, you know what? I've kept that for 20 years. I don't like it.
Yeah,
Fucking
very
using
true.
that.
Yeah, very true. And look, hand on my heart, I've opened stuff or I've had stuff, and I'm like, I'm glad I opened that, and or I know that it is. It's like a Schrodinger's cat type thing of you won't know what it's like until you open the box, whether the cat's in there or whether it's not, or whether you like it or not.
Yeah,
So open it and taste it, or try and get a sample of it and taste it. But like, there's a lot of stuff that is elusive or more expensive, and it's disappointed me. Maybe it's because I had so much expectation in my head as well.
yeah.
But that would have happened to me if I hadn't had it. I wouldn't have known, and I would still have this thing in my head that, oh, it's amazing or it's brilliant. But uh, sometimes they do disappoint, unfortunately. But
Yeah,
some of them
of
don't. That
course.
Rebels 27 in particular really doesn't. But anyway, that's an irrelevant.
Yeah, but not everything can live up to a mass, especially your expectation grows how long you keep it. So
Mhm.
you get 10, 20 years down the line and then go, oh, I go, but this, it got to taste amazing. And you go, no, it's, it's nice, but that's it. You know, it's
Yeah,
not, it doesn't blow your socks off. It's not outstanding.
yeah, yeah, and that would be really disappointing if that were to happen. So, like, what everyone's doing to bottles is fine, as we say, rising tide floats all boats. But I think we're definitely at the point whereby think these are made to be drunk, is what I would say. So,
Exactly. And I have two more questions for you. And just before I ask you the two questions, I also just wanted, just because you mentioned Laurie there, I wanted to give a shout out to Laurie because when I reached out to him about starting this, he was the most helpful he could be and sent me everything, every app and every website he knew to try and get the ball rolling. So thanks for
but
thanks very much, Laurie.
no, and to be fair, Larry has become probably one of the better friends of mine through whiskey over the last number of years. To be fair, and he's helped me a lot as well. So, um, he's definitely somebody that is a, somebody that will help people that seek help, if that makes sense. So he definitely is.
Yeah,
This is working
no,
for me now.
no, of course, and I actually met him for the first time at Belfast Whiskey Week Expo last year, and we were standing near the basically the same stand, and I felt like a fanboy going up to him because I was like, oh, hi, Laurie, nice to meet you, I'm Lee, and I love your podcast and blah blah blah. And then I reached out to him about a few tips for this, and he straight
Yeah,
away, oh, here's my number, we'll get a call. And I think we were on the call for about 15 minutes, and he was telling me everything I needed to know. And sure, anything as soon as you get up and running, reach out again, and we'll get some more information out to you and stuff, blah blah. And it was absolutely great.
yeah, no, he really is, and I mean that he's helped me a lot as well. To be fair to him, so he definitely is worth championing as well. And you should come down. You should come down to Cork. You should come down to the festival in Cork. It's it's really really good. It's a
No,
great
no, no.
event.
I do plan to, and I'm looking at dates next year. I'm going to say to my best mate here and see if next year he want to go down for a night or two.
Do yeah, it is definitely worth coming down for because it's only getting better and better. Is what I'm going to say. It's that because it really is probably, I hate to say it, Paul, but it probably is the best whiskey festival in the country. So it's worth coming down to and having a trip for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. On the other side of things, will you be up for any of Belfast Whiskey Week? No.
I don't know. I'd love to come up some year, right? But I just don't think like it's awkward getting up to Belfast Whiskey Week for us down here.
How do you think
Concrete,
how do
damn
you think it would be for me getting to Cork?
it. Um, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's just there's a bit of planning in that trip, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, of
Josh,
course.
I'm just
It's
gonna hold my
logistically
phone actually instead. Um,
logistically it's
yeah,
a nightmare.
there is, yeah. It's definitely, but look, it's we myself and my wife love Belfast. So it is definitely a trip that we probably should make a bit more often. So having the festival as an excuse is probably a good thing to do to make it happen, I suppose. So you will see me or us there, but and I would love to. It just hasn't worked the last number of years, but at some point it will. At some point it will.
Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, no, I'm completely the same with getting down to Cork. It's on the, it's almost like it's on the bucket list because I still need to come down and do Middleton. I want to do Clonakilty. I want to come down for a festival, but it's timeline and line things up logistically. You know, it's it's not exactly round the corner.
No, and look, it all feeds back into what we were talking about earlier. It's just certain things have to take priority as you get that bit older. So look,
Exactly.
you can't do everything. Can't do everything.
Yeah, you can't be everywhere.
No,
So
no, sorry, not. No.
last two questions.
Mhm.
I know I haven't been to Cork and we're from different ends of the country, but where would your go-to bar be?
So there's probably two at the moment, and like one has probably always been I don't know if you're familiar with Cheers, the sitcom from Boston that Kelsey Grammer was in and Woody Harrelson. Obviously, certain people wouldn't be anymore. We're of an age where we both probably are, but some people wouldn't be.
Yeah, Woody Harrison, of course.
Um,
Yeah,
but like from years and years ago, even before we were kind of really, really into whiskey, but I've always found that going to Shelburne Bar in Cork, you might have heard of it through the Eater.
yes, I have.
Like
Yeah,
everybody, yeah, everybody, it's huge Irish whiskey bar, that's great, but um, everybody kind of knows their name inside there. It is that kind of cheers vibe of hello, or they'll go your way, like Rory in particular. Mark Larry when he used to be in there, and Rory would like has gone out of his way a lot to accommodate us when we've gone in, myself and my wife, but like just in general, a group of us might have gone in. He'd kind of
yeah,
help get us into a table, or but there mightn't have been space. He'd ask a couple of people to move. It's those little things that kind of stand out to me. It's
yeah,
hospitality. It's not just about
yeah,
going and sitting down and having a pint. That's fine, but it's the whole package around that, and that's important to me. Because I like to look after people and how I operate inside and work. So, when it's done for you as well, it makes that impact.
yeah. Of course.
So that's one, and then the other one you probably also heard of the other bar would be the High B in Cork.
Yeah,
Like over the last maybe 2 years or so, Rachel's father passed away, and Rachel's kind of taken on with her husband in the running of it, and has definitely moved past the kind of not a kind of place where people just went and it was this kind of cult kind of phenomenon thing. And it's moved into kind of a broader kind of wider range of drinks, and there's a lot of whiskey gone in there now. Recently she started doing whiskey tastings in the last year or so. Um, and definitely a kind of definitely it's different. No
yeah,
TV in there, no loud music playing. It's all background chatter. Small, very small. It's like somebody's front room. But it's that homely vibe. But again, it's kind
yeah,
of like when there, everybody knows their names. You've been in there before. They kind of go hello, hello, hello. But the selection of drinks inside there as well, and just
yeah.
the whole atmosphere inside there is unmatched. So they're the two places that jump out to me.
Okay, great, great. So last one. I know you're a Cork fan, but
Mhm.
Guinness or Beamish?
I'm going to be very controversial here now. I don't drink stout.
Do you know?
No, I don't drink stout. I don't drink beer. I don't drink lager. I don't drink
No.
not really. No, it would take something really kind of unusually tasty to do that. But I actually don't. Would you believe that? I know they were thinking, oh great, this is going to be a great question to finish on here now. But I've given you a really controversial answer.
No, fair enough.
Um,
Fair enough
but
because
if I was to say anything, my dad would absolutely run through somebody for a pint of Murphy's, not being sure so or
great
Guinness, so
great
Murphy's.
answer because Murphy's is probably my number one.
Really? Go ahead.
I, yeah, I swear to God, I would have if I got went there for now, I would have more Murphy's in there than Guinness because
um,
I I would it would be Murphy's, Guinness, Beamish for me.
really? Okay. Now a lot of people in Cork would prefer a pint of Beamish,
Uh,
just from going out with people and knowing them they prefer a pint of Beamish. But no,
well,
my
that's
dad's
why.
always been Murphy's.
But yeah, no, Murphy's right answer. But yeah, no, fair enough because I know you know Paul Kane, Belfast
Hmm.
whiskey. He doesn't drink any beers. He just
Does he
drinks
not?
whiskey. No,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't either.
yeah.
I'd have a cocktail now as well or something like
And
that, or a different
to,
type of
to be
spirit, but I
fair,
wouldn't.
I never knew that about him, and I've knew Paul years until I was at the Belfast Whiskey Week Expo back when it was in the Europa, and me and my dad, or Uncle Joe were out. out at the bar having a drink and talking about it, and I said, "Oh, we'll get you a pint." He went, "No, I don't drink." I went, do you want gas?" He went, "No, I don't drink that." I said, "Do you want beer?" No, I only drink whiskey. I was like, "All right." He was like, "Just give us a whiskey and ginger." I was like, "Okay." So
Yeah, so we're cut myself and Barry are cut from the same class, but I just don't
yeah,
maybe it's a kind of hangover from teenage drinking. I don't know what it is, but like just don't like it. So I'd rather sit down and just have two or three whiskeys and just our whiskey
we'll see.
mixed in with something else, and that's it.
See that's the thing. See if I'm in the house now. I used to drink beer and stuff, and excuse me, I would have the odd beer. I'd say there's Murphy's in the fridge and stuff, but very rarely will I actually have an actual beer. If I'm in, I will have a couple whiskeys because I feel like if I have a couple stouts,
Mm.
I would feel worse the next day than if I had a couple whiskey.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
And I know a lot of people would be like that too.
yeah,
The browns, like the brown spirit as opposed to brown ale or whatever you want to call it.
yeah,
The stout. A lot of people would find that it has more of a hangovery kind of. It's probably all the other stuff that's put into it to
yeah.
make it stout.
I just think it would kill my stomach. It would make me feel heavy and sluggish.
Yeah.
Was
No, having said
a
that,
couple
I
whiskeys.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. Having said that, the two other things that we would drink at home here would be a couple of different cream liqueurs, all right, and there'd always be one in the fridge. Or laterally there would always be a bottle of apple ice wine, all right, from Kilahora in our fridge, and they'd be the things that we drink instead of
Never
stout
tried it
or
either.
whatever. It's
But
apple ice wine is
I,
class.
I've heard great stuff about it, but I never tried it. But as you say, um, well, the my cream liqueur that I do have sit, sitting in the fridge, a bottle will be there all year long. Is the Two Stacks double cream liqueur,
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah,
and
that's in our fridge, and
I
the
promise,
Mickle one as well. They're the two that
I,
we'd keep on rotation.
yeah, I promise I'm not just on to promote Two Stacks, but they are just doing some great things. So it is always sitting there in the fridge. I
No, I
actually
will say as well, I have a bottle of Gloria in the fridge usually as well, the Cologne Gloria. That generally stays in our fridge as well.
yeah.
Because that mixed um with the cream liqueur is phenomenal stuff.
I haven't done that yet, but I must try it.
Do.
Well, I think that's us.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah,
So
I think I've gone way over the time limit. Probably you were
I
expecting. So
know,
sorry about
no.
that.
So yeah. So I just want to say a huge thanks, Dean, for coming on, and hopefully you'll come back on. Soon enough we even get a wee tasting set going for ourselves and work through that.
Yeah. No, I think that'd be a good idea. Actually, yeah, we could do maybe a three gram selection each, and send the other just or send the other three the other way, etc. So,
Yeah,
yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be neat. Yeah, but
yeah,
definitely, thanks very much for having me on. I appreciate that.
no problem.
Looking
I
forward
really appreciate it.
to listening back to Oisin's one as well. So, and best luck with it. I mean that. I mean that. Really. Do.
Well, thank you very much, and I'll be in touch anyways. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Members, go on. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Slán.
Yes, you too. See you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.